Hello again, guys. It's Keith with Bulletproof RC, and I'm back with you again to talk about the Axial Yeti trophy truck kit. I've been working on this thing and dialing in suspension and handling a little bit, and recently made a video of some handling changes that I made. I had to rethink my tuning technique in this vehicle because it's different than anything I've ever owned. Of course, in real life, a trophy truck is a much different beast than a short course truck. Well, the last video that I made was more in line with trying to make this thing handle on a short course track, and I was going for cornering and overall agility, but that's really not what a trophy truck is. So I had to rethink my tuning technique, because I don't want a short course truck. I've had short course trucks. I've had a number of them, and that's not what I want now. What made me, buy this truck in the first place was that it's different. It's a trophy truck. It should handle like a trophy truck. So I began to watch videos on trophy trucks, even though I've seen them through the years, and I'm aware of what a trophy truck is and what a short course truck is. Just the history of short course had me going down the wrong road as far as tuning goes. A short course truck is made for a scaled up version of an RC short course track, and a trophy truck, that's not where trophy trucks race. They race across the desert. They're mostly going in a straight line, and they're hitting massive grade changes, and they're handling them with finesse. And I imagine if you, I guess I'm somewhere around between 35 and 40 miles per hour with this rig now. And if you think about it, if it's 1/10 the size of a trophy truck, then if you scale up that mile per hour for a full-size trophy truck, 40 miles per hour would be 400 miles per hour. So, you got to think about it. When you start going with realistic suspensions and realistic design, those suspension designs in the large scale were designed for 100 to 150 miles per hour, which, if you scale that down, would be 15 miles per hour scale. Now, of course, we're going to be driving these RC cars faster than 15 miles per hour. I haven't driven an RC car that goes 15 miles per hour since brushed motors back in the old days, 20 years ago. But anyway, back to the tuning. I had this thing, the rear shock position, moved back to the back position on the A-arms, or not A-arms, but the trailing arms, and also the upper suspension. I moved those back to the forward stock position to give maximum droop, and then I moved the front suspension, if you can see it in the camera, I moved them to the inside on the A-arms to give maximum droop in the front end. Now, I was having a little bit of trouble with this vehicle bottoming out on the front end. One of the main reasons for that was the weak stock springs that come in the kit. Hot Racing makes an Axial Yeti spring tuning kit, and the maximum spring in that kit, I believe, is 4.95 pounds, so close to 5 pounds springs, and I believe that's up over the it's less than 4.5 pounds in the kit, so it adds a little bit of tension in the front end. And of course, my collars are cranked all the way down to maximum. And believe it or not, I have changed the shock fluid a number of times in this kit, and currently I have 80 pound, or excuse me, I'm still thinking of springs, 80 weight oil in the front end. Now that may sound very drastic, but it's not like molasses like you think it would be. See, the stock axial shocks, I guess the way the bypass works inside it, you have to go thicker on this fluid to match something along the lines of a quality of a Proline Power Stroke. I have Proline Power Strokes on the Axial Yeti Rock Racer behind me, and I have 40 weight in those shocks in the front end, and I have 80 weight in the front of this. And those shocks they still have more dampening in those than this does. So if that lets you know what you have to do if you want to keep the stock shocks on the Axial Yeti trophy truck, you're going to have to go thicker on your oil. Now, now keep in mind, I did add a little bit of weight to this thing in the front end. I've got an aluminum shock tower and aluminum bulkhead, so that may have added a few grams to the front end, which you may be able to get by with the stock springs. But I had to add a little bit stronger springs and a little bit thicker front fluid. Now, as you can see, when I set this thing down, the shocks do compress to a certain degree, which is right. I've looked at this thing and I'm very happy with the ground clearance I have now. I was scraping over obstacles, and then if I come off of a jump, I was scraping severely. Now I can do a drop test with this thing. It doesn't bottom out, and my shocks are soft enough that I can handle the smaller bumps and everything and hold traction. In the rear end, what I went with is a 45 weight oil. Now that's up over the 30 weight that the kit suggests you use. 45 weight seems very good for the rear end of this vehicle. It's not over the top. It's to me, the 45 weight feels like 30 does in most vehicles. So again, you're using these Axial shocks, which I don't think they have as much compression in them as most shocks. So overall, these tuning tips have helped quite a bit to make this thing handle very realistically compared to a trophy truck in real life. Also, over my last video, I told you that I was running a 56 tooth pinion. I think that's right, the smaller one, and spur, 56 spur, and a 20 tooth pinion in the last video. I have went up to a 22 tooth pinion now, and my motor, which is the 3100, is staying very cool, and everything's good to go there. I'm going to pause the video and take the
Okay guys, thought I'd give you a closer look. Here is the rear suspension, and notice the upper position and lower position is in the stock position. I've got the retaining rings cranked down pretty good in the rear, because as you know, that the rear cage on that body adds quite a bit of weight to the rear end, which is a good thing. But it takes quite a bit of overspringing to make that even out. And again, that 45 weight, now this compression is not accurate right now because the body's not on and the extra weight's not in the rear end. So you got to keep that in mind when you're setting this thing up. Without the body on it, it's not going to be an accurate representation of what you're going to have once the body's on. And then I want to give you a closer look in the front end. The front end, as you can see, the retaining rings are twisted all the way down. I am using the inside position on the lower A-arms. And then again, this is 80 weight oil, which is seems over the top, but it works great in this vehicle. Now again, I did add a little bit of weight. As you can see, there's an aluminum bulkhead and aluminum shock tower and aluminum body mount, but that's the only thing in the front end of this rig that has added weight, because I'm using a carbon fiber drag link, and I don't think that's added any weight, and everything else is all stock. But like I said, I added this little bit of aluminum in the front end, even though this thing is front end heavy, just for durability reasons. But that's it, guys. I just wanted to give a few tips out there to maybe help others, and also make sure that everyone else like me isn't thinking short course when they're setting these things up, because that's not what they are. Now, if you want to compete with short course trucks, if your buddy has a short course, you have a trophy truck, then yeah, I highly suggest moving your suspension to the rear position, lowering it down a little bit, moving your front shock position to the outside to give it a lower center of gravity, because as you know, that battery being up here on this particular chassis style does add a lot of top end weight. But I'll say I was very pleased when I started driving this thing the first time, because I thought I was going to be rolling over on every turn. Now, years ago when I first bought my first Traxxas Slash, before LCG was invented, that thing, I mean, you could barely turn it at all without it flipping over. Now I know people can tune the suspension and make it handle better, but out of the box, a Traxxas Slash rolls over on a dime. So anyway, this vehicle is more stable to me than a Traxxas Slash two-wheel drive is out of the box, and that surprised me because having a realistic trailing arm style suspension and a high center of gravity, I really expected the worst. But this thing actually handles very well, even with the huge amounts of droop. But then if you lower the suspension down and use the other shock positions I mentioned, you could actually have this thing competing, I think, very well with a short course truck. Of course, there's a short course truck's going to have a little advantage because that is designed for a course like that, and this is not. But you know, you could still have some fun, and it's all in the technique of the driver. And once you get adjusted to the different driving style it takes to drive one of these things, I think you could be competitive actually. Of course, we know that Losie's coming out with a Baja Ray. I'm very excited for that too, because you know, it's hard for me to think of comparing any axial vehicle to a Losie, but Losie's actually kind of hitting Axial right in the face with a couple of vehicles. First of all, the Losie 10 SCBE is coming out, which is very reminiscent of a Exo, and I've actually got one of those on pre-order. I love the Losie 10 platform. And then I also plan to get the Losie Baja Ray and do a comparison with this vehicle. Of course, with Axial, it takes a different mindset because the plastics are soft, and out of the box, you automatically know that you're going to have to do some changes to an Axial vehicle just to get it to perform without braking. I know that people are running the Score trophy truck without a lot of issues, but you know, you can expect when you get an Axial vehicle for some of the parts to be weak. And for instance, there's no way I would run this vehicle without some upgrades in the front end. Those plastic links that come on the RTR version of the trophy truck, the flex that you have in those, and then the drag link flex, and also the soft spring that's in the servo saver. Man, this thing is just like mush in the front end if you run that. So I highly recommend, even if you run the RTR version, to go ahead and stiffen up your turnbuckles with either Traxxas ones or buy the Axial ones. And then of course your steering rack needs to be upgraded as well. But anyway, the Losie, any Losie product, that if you've ever owned one, out of the box, you can drive a Losie vehicle with minimal breakage in most cases, and they handle well. And so I'm expecting the Baja Ray to outperform a stock Yeti trophy truck. But you know, then again, you've got crazy over-the-top part support for any Axial vehicle, and this using an older platform, you know, being the Yeti Rock Racer. There's already a number of upgrades out there available for this vehicle, whereas the Losie Baja Ray is going to be short on aftermarket support. But like I said, I highly expect the Losie trophy truck to handle pretty decently out of the box. So we'll see, guys. We'll see what happens with this trophy truck scene. But I predict it being a hit. I think it already is. Losie coming on board with the competition is definitely evidence that people expect the trophy truck scene to be big. So anyway, guys, I just thought I'd share an update. And as always, like and subscribe if the shoe fits. And till next time, guys, have a great day.